and welcome to Ag PhD. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for joining us. Today on the show, we're going to talk about early corn fungicide applications. Are they worth it or not? Should you be out there spraying when it's V5, V6, something like that? We're going to talk through the situations where this could pay on your farm.
Well, speaking of post-emerge sprays, we're going to look at soybeans and herbicide choices. Now, you may say, well, I've got Extend or I've got Liberty, but what other choices are there to help you on some of the tough weeds? We'll discuss that today.
We've got a thorny weed of the week coming up later in the show, and iron talk as well. But first, here's this week's Farm Basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk about boron.
All right, so you think about what? Boron? Maybe you haven't even heard about boron, but it is one of the essential micronutrients for crop growth. And I don't care what crop you're growing, you need just a little bit of boron in order to get your crop to grow properly. So when we look at boron, why is it so important and why do we have to put it out there? That's what we're going to talk about today.
Before we even get to that, I would just say, if you go on the Ag PhD fertilizer removal app, you will find that with many crops, we have down how much boron that crop is actually going to use. Now, it's not going to be pounds per acre like it is with potassium or nitrogen. It's going to be, in most cases, fractions of a pound. But nevertheless, like Darren said, it is tremendously important.
Well, and we think about boron being extremely important once we get to the reproductive stages of growth for plants, but it's not necessarily just for the end of the year. We need a little bit of boron all the way through. And this is kind of true with many of the nutrients. We may have a peak time for demand, but we do need a little bit all throughout the season.
Yeah, so in other words, if let's say your ear isn't filling out all the way to the end, could it be that you've planted maybe a little bit too thick? Sure could be, but it also could be a lack of boron. So like Darren said, this is tremendously important in the reproductive stages. So we want to make sure that we've got that timing down right. In other words, boron moves in the soil. It leaches. So if you have a lot of rainfall and a light soil, the problem is if I need a whole bunch of tassel time, but yet I've put it on 3 months before that and I have light soil and lots of rain, my boron may be gone by the time I reach tassel. So that's why in light soils, in areas where you have lots of rainfall, areas that are irrigated, we want to think about applying some boron during the course of the season. And that's part of the reason why we're talking about that today.
And some of the micronutrients that you'd put out in your soil for your crop, well, they just stay right where they're put. Boron just doesn't happen to be one of those nutrients. So much like we manage nitrogen and sulfur, we have to watch out because there are forms of those nutrients that can move down through the soil if we're not careful.
The other thing that we talk about quite often with boron is what form are we going to apply it in? On our farm, the cheapest way to go is a dry product, and we'll do it in the fall because we're frozen, our ground's frozen for 6 months out of the year. We have very little rain and heavy soil. So there's no problem losing the boron. In a light sandy soil, irrigated, let's say it's in the southern United States, then I'm thinking an awful lot about, you know what, I want to put it on as I go in season. I might even put it on with my nitrogen side dress. I might even do a little foliar application with liquid. So there are many forms of boron. Just find out what works for you. And the best way to find out is run some trials, do soil testing before and after, and do plant tissue analysis before and after.
Now, boron is an important micronutrient. It's essential for crop growth, so you need to make sure that you have enough boron for whatever you're trying to grow. Well, one thing you're not trying to grow out in your field or your garden is our weed of the week. We'll show you how to stop it coming up later in the show.
I know a lot of people that have them, and I don't know anybody that doesn't like their Morton building.
The crew was really, in my book, top-notch.
The quality of this building is second to none, and they make sure before you walk away that you're happy.
This is my dream barn. I think it ended up looking even better than I thought it would.
People love it. When they get in here, they're just in awe.
Morton Buildings, for work, for life, for generations.
Leading the charge in strip tillage for more than a decade, the Soil Warrior brings the future to your farm today.
Increase your productivity with Hypro's dual react control system. The dual nozzle body design allows you to drive at the speed you want while maintaining the rate and droplet size you need. Hypro, helping you spray better.
Unlock your nutrient investment with QuickRoots technology. It contains 2 powerful microbes that can help free nutrients bound in your soil, which can improve access to key nutrients for healthy crops, N, P, and K. Applying QuickRoots technology to seed can lead to improved root and shoot growth, increased yield potential, and maximized nutrient investment. See how you can make your fertilizer dollar go further at monsantobioag.com/QuickRoots.
And how about the big man, Pro Germinator?
Yeah, this guy's got some experience in the field. But look at his stats. You can't argue with those kind of results.
You're right. I know a lot of teams wishing their phosphorus player had those kind of numbers.
Right, but this guy's not just phosphorus. He's got the nitrogen, the potassium, the micros. All those just add up to his phosphorus game.
And his game is good.
Should you apply fungicide early in your corn, like a V5, V7 kind of timing? That's a big question for a lot of farmers right now. You know, over the last few years, we've found a lot of people having good success with tassel applications of fungicide, but we certainly haven't in the Western Corn Belt, where we're very dry. We've actually had better luck spraying early. So we're going to talk about that today.
Well, one of the nice things about spraying early in the season, of course, is, well, you can use your ground equipment. You can drive a ground sprayer right through the field. You're already out there putting on a herbicide. Maybe you even had to spray for bugs. You may have an insecticide in there. Hey, why not? I can put a fungicide on at this timing. My crop, the growing point is just getting above the ground. I want to make sure that plant's healthy. It makes a lot of sense, and you don't have that extra application charge, so you really don't need a huge improvement in yield in order to get a good return on investment. If you're putting in a half rate of fungicide, since you have a very small crop at this point, you're saving some money compared to that tasseling time fungicide application where you have to use a full rate. So there are a lot of reasons why you may consider that early season application. The question is, are you going to get a return on investment? Are you going to get a yield boost from putting a fungicide on early? Now, typically in much of the Corn Belt, we don't have much for disease issues at this time. So we're looking more for plant health benefits, and a good way to check is by doing some split application. Now, if you're going to do one pass with a fungicide and then one pass without, that'd be fine if you were just spraying the fungicide. The problem is, we're going to do a fungicide plus a herbicide, possibly an insecticide, maybe even a foliar feed. So if it's going into a tank mix with lots of things, that's tough to do that kind of application.
Now, Darren just said, hey, with these early applications, we're looking more at plant health than anything. So if I'm thinking about that, I'm going, which fungicides have the best plant health benefits? Well, that would be the strobilurin chemistries. So we want to talk about products like Quadris, Headline, Evito. Where I'm going with this is we think about all these combination products that are out there and some of these cheap triazole products that are out there. So I just want to make sure you get a strobe in the tank, at least some kind of rate. If you still want to use a combination product, I don't have a big issue with that. We're doing that on our farm. But just make sure you've got a strobe in that tank when you're spraying.
As we often discuss with fungicides, you're only going to protect the parts of the plant that you spray that day. So with corn, if you're spraying it at, say, in that V5 to V7 range, guess what? It's popping a new leaf out every few days, and those are unprotected. So the longer you can wait, I really prefer more towards the V6, V7 timing versus the V4, V5 timing, just because you have that much more plant mass that you can protect. We're also seeing guys come back in a few leaf stages later. Maybe we get to V10 to V12 when you may have that ear leaf out. So you just have to think about it. When I spray now, I'm not protecting the plant for the whole season. I'm just protecting it for a short period of time.
Well, once again, we do think that this is a timing when it comes to fungicides that you'll want to consider spraying, because in a lot of cases you can get by with a lower rate. You definitely can spray it yourself. You definitely can mix it with most herbicides, most foliar fertilizers, most insecticides. So it makes a lot of sense economically. If I've got a lot less cost, I need a lot fewer bushels back to make this thing pay. The way I look at it on our farm is, if we're only going to spend about $5, I want to double my money, so I got to get about a 3 bushel yield gain. Have we been getting that? Yes, that and more. So for us, it's been paying. The tassel applications haven't been working for us, but these early applications certainly have, because I've got so much less investment.
While V5 to V7 may be an early timing for corn fungicide use, it may be already too late to control our weed of the week. We'll show you what could stop this weed later in the show.
With the success of the Case IH Steiger Quad Track and Magnum Road Track tractors, it's no secret why Case IH is the leader of the track. So it wasn't surprising when the competition started imitating us, because Case IH offered the first 5-axle design to give you more power to the ground, with less berming and compaction, all to help you be more productive. Still, we're flattered. In fact, if we weren't already red, we'd be blushing.
Let's take a look at our picks for the championship season. We've got 10-34-0.
No. I don't want to talk about them. I want to talk about this Agro Liquid team. Take a look at this lineup. They got it all. The talent, their players can meet any challenge on any field. The coaching staff, the best I've seen.
So that's your pick? No discussions?
Nope. Agro Liquid is the team. They're going all the way to the championship.
Are you looking for an easy way to apply dry powdered products to your stored grain? Do you want to use the applicator recommended by industry leaders for products like Diacon D and other dry powder products? Changing Time CT applicators successfully apply a diversity of products quickly, easily, and accurately. The innovative CT applicators are designed to give you the most accurate application of products such as talc, inoculants, fertilizers, and other dry products. For commercial use or on the farm, you need the applicator industry leaders are using. CT applicators for the changing times.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
Tired of that old warped poly boom ruining your spray applications? Express Boom from Hypro is a fully assembled stainless steel boom that ensures an even application of chemicals every time. Don't wait another season, upgrade today. Hypro, helping you spray better.
If you're looking to expand your farm's grain handling, you want everything to be fast and efficient. The Quick Belt from Norwood Sales is your all-around grain handling solution. Our conveyor-based system uses an 18-inch belt and a 10-inch tube, which minimizes seed damage while moving more than 10,000 bushels an hour. That's fast enough to fill a semi in 6 minutes. Plus, our hood is designed to gently direct the flow of grain straight down, keeping your crop in condition. Keep your grain and your farm moving with the Quick Belt from Norwood Sales.
Post-emerge soybean herbicides. This discussion was pretty easy about 10 years ago for most people because they were just spraying Roundup. You're not going to be just spraying Roundup today. You've got a lot of choices, and it first depends on the trait. Do you have a Roundup trait? Do you have a Liberty trait? Do you have an Extend trait? What do you have on your farm? That's where it needs to begin.
Yeah, and the other thing is it begins with that pre-emerge program. You have to have an awesome pre-emerge program because, as you're going to learn very shortly here, there's not very many tough things that work well post-emerge.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there.
All right, let's go for it.
At this point, there are no weeds in the world that are resistant to Liberty. But it's not good enough because how quickly do some of these weeds grow? Within a week, most weeds can be out of the range of Liberty. So you're not going to be out there spraying once a week. You can't. You can only spray it twice.
I totally get that. We got to get the weeds in there small. The other thing is guys don't want to use lots of water and they don't want to switch spray tips. Why on earth would you spray Liberty if you're not using a small droplet? If you're using great big droplets,
you don't get the same
it's going to be
bang for the
really,
buck.
really tough for Liberty to work.
That's right. Your weed control goes down. So we want lots of water, lots of pressure, small spray droplets with Liberty. We want the exact opposite, pretty much, when we start talking about dicamba. Okay, so if you're out there spraying
not necessarily
dicamba,
less water. You can use 15 gallons of water. That's totally fine. But you do need to have those bigger droplets because that's what the label requires.
In terms
because
of drift.
They're worried about drift.
Right. So anyway, the big thing here is I don't care if we're talking Liberty or we're talking dicamba. For both of them, you can look right on the label and it's going to tell you how tall the weeds can be. It doesn't say 1 to 2 foot tall weeds. It says 4 inches, maybe 6 inches. Okay, so that's the big thing regardless of the herbicide you're spraying, and I could say the same thing's true with all the rest of the herbicides we'll talk about today. So the big thing here with dicamba is make sure that you're following the label. Spraying early, spraying at the right time of day with the right wind speed, the proper downwind buffer, and all those types of things.
Here's the thing that I'll say, everything we just talked about, the disclaimer that I would have is we really don't recommend using a single mode of action.
Right.
We've got to use at least 2 effective modes of action. If you're spraying the Ingenia or Extendamax types of products, Fexapan, well, hopefully you're able to mix something else with that that'll help you on the weeds. Same thing with Liberty. If you're just spraying Liberty alone, man, we're asking for trouble. We really need to have another product with it.
Well, yeah, but let's say I've already got 3 modes of action down, and I really only want to spray Extend by itself because I think I'll have less volatility and less drift.
Well,
so now that's the 4th mode of action I'll already have put on the crop, and I'm going to follow with 1 or 2 more later.
Hey, I'm fine.
How do you feel about that?
I love having lots of modes of action. However, what the studies have shown is you're 83 times more likely to develop resistance when in a single application, you're spraying 1 mode of action that's working. Now, you could say, well, I'm going to use Extendamax and Roundup or something like that. Wonderful, you have 2 modes of action. However, only one of them works. So if you've got resistant palmer pigweed, now you're just spraying the dicamba, or you're just spraying the Liberty.
All right, but let's keep in mind, a dead weed can never become resistant. So as long as you get 100% control, I'm not worried about it.
All right. You know, here's the other problem. Like Brian was saying before, weeds are growing so fast. You miss one, and now when you come back, it could be 6 inches taller, and now there might not be a good option to get it other than hand weeding, which is always an option.
All right, when we start talking about early post applications, yes, we'd like to see you throw a group 15 out there if you feel you need it and you want more residual.
But that's
it's
not
just
going to
that
kill
needs
anything.
to be early.
It's not going to burn anything down.
It's not going to kill anything that's already up. Exactly. That's just for residual. So the products we'll talk about now are the ones that will actually burn down weeds that are already up. And the big ones I think about are FlexStar and First Rate, in addition to Cobra and Ultra Blazer.
Okay, so that FlexStar or Fameciphen is really the most popular one that's being used. We see a lot of that going out there, either solo or tank mixed with some of these herbicide tolerant options. Wow, it's really hot. Like with a Liberty, for example, you've got fire coming out almost.
Yes, it can burn down weeds fairly quickly, but here again, with FlexStar, we want more water, we want a little more pressure, we want a little smaller droplet if we can get it, and you got to spray small weeds. The other big thing with FlexStar for me is it's not labeled everywhere in the country. The use rate lowers the further west and north you go, and then also we got to think about the 10-month rotational restriction to corn. That's a big deal. So I got to have that sprayed by June 1st if I want to plant April 1st next year.
Well, that is a big deal. And you look at, well, what's my alternative if I don't use that? Well, you're probably using Cobra or Ultra Blazer, where you don't have as much for rotational restrictions, but you may have more crop response.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of products. Let's get very specific to weeds here. If you don't have one of those traits, like the dicamba trait or anything else, let's say I just want to kill these weeds conventionally. Best thing on water hemp or palmer pigweed?
Well, you got to spray it small and you use FlexStar or use Cobra or Ultra Blazer.
Okay, how about kochia?
Well, with kochia, there's nothing that's really good. Cobra is probably the best, but wow, you've got to get that real small or you're just not going to get it under control.
Ragweed, common ragweed and giant ragweed, I'll lump them together.
I like First Rate or First Rate with FlexStar. I think that works the best.
Well, that's if it's not ALS resistant. If it's ALS resistant, the First Rate won't work at all.
Well, there you go.
Then
That's
you have
why
to
you
go
do the combination.
FlexStar, and Cobra's not too bad either, or Ultra Blazer really. Okay, so how about lamb's quarters?
Well, with lamb's quarters, then you have to go back to a different chemistry. It used to be called Pinnacle. That works really well, or Harmony. That type of chemistry can do a good job for really a low price.
All right, and then one of the toughest ones once you get post-emerge, mare's tail.
Well, that is a tough one. And I like all those other options that you've got that are named dicamba or Liberty or Roundup when it used to work. But now in crop, wow, FlexStar is probably good, but First Rate, you know, again, you may have some resistance issues there, so that First Rate FlexStar combo is my general choice.
Yep, otherwise we've had halfway decent luck with a FlexStar Classic combination as well. We never mentioned Classic.
If your soils can tolerate that,
yeah. Yep. We worry about the high pH soils and carry over with Classic, especially at higher rates.
Well, there, as you can see, it gets pretty tough when you get away from some of those herbicide tolerant options. So make sure if you're still planting beans, get those pre's out there. Even if you say, well, I'm a little bit late, you still got to get those pre's out, because post-emerge, outside of your herbicide tolerant options like Liberty and the dicamba type products, we don't have much to control some of these weeds.
Well, yeah, but we do have some options. So go to the Ag PhD Field Guide app if you've got questions about specific weeds, and then we list a lot of these things out for corn, for soybeans, and for wheat.
One of those weeds you may find on there is our Weed of the Week. Can you identify this week's weed?
The Weed of the Week is brought to you by Dow AgroSciences. Finish the fight against tough weeds with the Enlist Weed Control System.
Weeds are tough, but we're tougher. With unrivaled weed control, reduced drift, and near zero volatility. So, who's tough now?
Weed of the week is puncture vine.
This is one of my least favorite weeds because, well, if you step in a patch of puncture vine, you will not forget that. Or if you drive any vehicle with rubber tires through it, whether it's a bicycle, a lawnmower, a tractor, it doesn't really matter. Puncture vine has a seed that's got some really sharp stickers on it, and it'll catch into those tires and get spread. And this is how the weed is spread for years and years. It's spread with animals that happen to catch some in their fur and drag it on to the next field or the next grassy area, so it can spread pretty easily that way.
All right, we've established it's bad. We've established it can spread pretty easy. How are we going to stop it?
Okay, well, mainly I'm concerned about it in my field. If I can keep it out of my field, I don't really care about some of those other areas so much, and Roundup does an excellent job. So if you get Roundup on it, do it before you've got the crop in the ground. We can wipe out puncture vine. If you've got it out in grassy areas, then I would recommend Freelex. You could use some dicamba, but if you're hand spraying it, I'm much more a fan of using the new Freelex. It just hardly has any volatility and a much safer profile for you.
So the big thing here is that you identify this weed and then you make sure that you're doing something about it relatively early in the season. You don't want to let this go. I realize sometimes you say, hey, I'm busy with this or that, but pretty soon you're going to be spending money repairing tires, and that's expensive. So our advice is just make sure you're spraying early and often if you need to get puncture vine under control. Again, best thing in the lawn or around the farmyard, Freelex, that's that new 2,4-D that doesn't have all the volatility and drift of the old 2,4-D. Out in crop fields, we're usually looking at Roundup either as a burn down or in crop on Roundup Ready crops.
That's all the time we have for this week's Weed, but Iron Talk is coming up next.
Unlock your nutrient investment with QuickRoots technology. It contains 2 powerful microbes that can help free nutrients bound in your soil, which can improve access to key nutrients for healthy crops, N, P, and K. Applying QuickRoots technology to seed can lead to improved root and shoot growth, increased yield potential, and maximized nutrient investment. See how you can make your fertilizer dollar go further at monsantobioag.com/QuickRoots.
This AgroLiquid line is something special. A lot of really impressive playmakers. Take a look at Sure K. This guy is an enigma.
But wrap your head around the exceptionally high plant response when compared to conventional potassium sources, the research-proven plant availability, plus flexible application options and mixing capabilities.
Really stellar performance stats. Sure K is a true standout, and that's a winning goal on any field.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
I know a lot of people that have them, and I don't know anybody that doesn't like their Morton building.
The crew was really, in my book, top-notch.
The quality of this building is second to none, and they make sure before you walk away that you're happy.
This is my dream barn. I think it ended up looking even better than I thought it would.
People love it. When they get in here, they're just in awe.
Morton Buildings, for work, for life, for generations.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
With the success of the Case IH Steiger Quad Track and Magnum Road Track tractors, it's no secret why Case IH is the leader of the track. So it wasn't surprising when the competition started imitating us. Because Case IH offered the first 5-axle design to give you more power to the ground, with less berming and compaction, all to help you be more productive. Still, we're flattered. In fact, if we weren't already red, we'd be blushing.
A lot of equipment used in today's agriculture, but one of my favorite little pieces of equipment is the subject of today's Iron Talk. If you're new to watching Ag PhD, you may not have noticed this yet, but my brother likes to pick on me just a little bit from time to time. One thing that he doesn't make fun of anymore is the fact that I almost always carry a shovel anytime I enter the field. In fact, I carry my trusty tile spade. Scouting what's happening above ground is important, and everybody likes to do that. But I also like to see the other half of the plant that's below the ground. Plus, there's so much more of the story of the field that you can only learn by doing a little digging. Here's a short list of things that I check on a regular basis in our fields and others that I visit. First, I'm looking for compaction. You can tell a lot simply by pushing the shovel in the ground. If you can jump on the shovel and not get it into the ground, well, you know what the real issue is. Second, I'm looking for topsoil depth. Now, if you've got a shallow topsoil in your field, why? Has there been erosion? Is there some other issue that's going on? And if so, how are we going to manage that field a little differently? Next, I'm looking at the subsoil. If you can get down to the subsoil level, what does that look like? Are you farming on sand? Are you farming on gravel? Are you farming on clay? It's going to make a big difference in a lot of the recommendations I may make. I'm also looking for moisture levels as I'm digging in the soil. Insects, of course, you're going to see the ones above ground, but I'm looking for wireworms, grubs, rootworms, even just earthworms to give a good idea of what's happening in the field. I also like to look at the root system. Rather than pulling plants out, I like to dig the plants out so I can see the entire root system. Next, I'm looking for planter issues and tillage issues, like is the tillage floor flat? And with my planter, did I keep my seeding depth just right? Or if not, what happened? What could I make adjustments to fix it for next time? You know, the list goes on and on. There's so many things to watch for in fields. Carrying a tile spade or whatever your favorite kind of shovel is doesn't cost you anything, and you can learn so much. That's all for today's Iron Talk, and now back to the show.
That's all the time we have for today's show, but before we go, we want to invite you to attend the Ag PhD Field Day. It's July 26th, right on our farm near Baltic, South Dakota. Just go to agphd.com for more information. We would also encourage you to tune in to the Ag PhD radio show, where we answer your agronomy questions each weekday at 2 p.m. Central on SiriusXM Channel 147.
And don't miss the next Ag PhD TV show. We'll have another Weed of the Week, Iron Talk, Farm Basics, and much more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching Ag PhD.